Ladies and gentlemen, we've got more very important data when it relates to the bedrock and the foundation of Donald Trump's economy for his second term. I stress to people the first quarter, it's very early on, and we're starting to see the foundation of an amazing economy for a president be laid here in this first quarter. We've got low inflation, low CPI, and all liberals want to talk about is the 10-year real yield, which has been manipulated by China because of the trade war. But this is big stuff. This is the second straight month now, and even you take a look at the true-flation, it's even lower. But you can see it's a drop of 0.1%. That is the second time in a row now in monthly data that we've seen inflation go down, in part as a byproduct to the tariff effort that Trump has put into place. And you can see I never really like looking at day-by-day stock market change, the fluctuations, but you could see after the huge boom we had yesterday, the market's a little bit negative today. There's going to be a recovery period for the market. That's another thing people were talking about to me. They were like, well, if Trump's really lowering rates, why are we seeing this major recovery? That was a shock recovery because nobody thought Trump would bring all of the tariffs on every single country down to 10% outside of China. Now I'm hearing China's tariffs have been up to like 145% every single day. There's more and more pressure being exuded onto the Chinese from Donald Trump, and he's trying to squeeze them, and it looks like China is ready to negotiate, and they want to frame it in a way to where there's going to be like one concession that Trump makes, and then the Chinese are going to say, we won, when in reality, this is going to be an amazing renegotiation for Donald Trump when it comes to the current unfair trade we have with China. It's bipartisan, Republicans, Democrats, Pelosi, Schumer, Bernie Sanders in the early 2000s, they've all admitted the trade with China is absurd. The Chinese just thought there's no way a president would purposefully tank his own stock market for a week and be able to, I mean, again, that's why it's so noble what Trump has done. He's taking the heat. We see what's happened the past 2 or 3 weeks. I've said there's even a longer 3D, 4D, 5D chess play here for Trump when it comes to the interest rates being cut, which is a byproduct of all of this, the inflation being down, the true-flation being down. You can see the updates here. Consumer prices fall in March with much cooler inflation. And so here are the numbers, and you can see why it matters. Inflation moved down as President Trump began ratcheting up the global trade war this last month. It's a relief after warnings that inflation progress had stalled out, and that is, you can see this right here. This is true-flation, which they say is more accurate. It's at 1.34%, and you can see it did tick up, and it mainly ticked up because Powell lowered the interest rates in September because he wanted Harris to win. It didn't end up working out for him, but you can see it ticked up. This is true-flation, which is more volatile. And look at where it was back during Biden when we had that crazy stagflation. I mean, we had very little economic growth. We had crazy inflation around 11%. It moves down to around 1.8. Then it ticks back up. Biden leaves. I mean, look at this. Biden leaves. Inflation is at like 2.8, 2.9%. Now we've got it at 1.34% under Trump and dropping. And so just to put this into perspective, last 6 months, Trump takes over. I mean, this is a perfect demonstration. Trump takes over. Boom, it immediately falls. This is the first step. You need the lower inflation. You get the Fed cut to happen. And so now you've got lower interest rates, you've got lower inflation, and now we can work with something. And that's mainly what we're going for here. And we knew it was going to drop. I mean, when you're dealing with the economic turmoil that we saw within the stock market, there was going to hopefully be a drop of inflation, and that's exactly what we saw. So overall, this is very good news. There were some people saying it would stay the same, some people saying it would drop by 0.1%. It ends up dropping and coming in lower. And so, again, the second straight month this has happened. Now we know what happened in February. So that's February, March. His first 2 full months as president, inflation has dropped. It's a huge data point when it comes to the Fed cutting rates, which will stimulate the economy and the overall growth. And we've also got Trump's budget coming, which, by the way, is really going to have to be combed over by myself and other people as we look at this. It's a little bit confusing with Trump. He says it's like they have this 10-year plan where they're trying to eliminate it's like $10 trillion in government waste over the course of 10 years, $1 trillion per year. I'm not sure how they're going to do it exactly. They are raising, at least within this budget. We'll see what happens in the Senate. It just passed the House barely. They're raising the military budget apparently to $1 trillion in Trump's major bill. So it's like $850 billion. It's going up to $1 trillion. We've already got a $2 trillion deficit. I'm not sure how that's really going to work out. But when it comes to this is the bedrock. This is the foundation of Trump's economy. He needed this to go lower. You could argue, well, maybe you shouldn't. I mean, really, when you're talking about tariffs, they work as a dual function. Because not only are you destroying China in a way, at least destroying their economy for a certain amount of time with these tariffs in place because it's crippling them. You've also now got negotiations with every other country, which pits every country against China in a way. But you also have the turmoil within the stock market, which you would say, well, that's bad. Well, no, because that creates lower inflation. And then they say, well, inflation will eventually rise. That's still the talking point. They're like, well, yeah, inflation's down the first 2 months. Trump's enacting all these tariffs, but inflation's gonna rise because of prices. Well, we don't know that for sure, especially with Trump negotiating with all these countries. Now, you might see a rise in certain sectors, and it's not inflation, it's just the rise of prices. It's not through the Biden inflation, which is the printing of billions and billions of more dollars, which destroys your purchasing power in every sector. This would be certain sectors when it comes to things we get from China. If we're producing them in America, yeah, the prices on that might go up a little bit. And I've said that's what happens. That's just the dynamics of trade-offs within economics. So it's really important that this goes down. We needed it to go down. I expected it to go down because of the economic turmoil. And it's a byproduct of the tariffs in a way to bring it back down. They'll be like, well, Biden was bringing it down. Well, no, if you look at the trueflation, this is the most accurate. You look at the trueflation, it was actually going up. It was going up towards the end, Biden's lame duck period. And, that was from the cut that they did in September. And so they had it around 3% inflation. And Trump enters. And, look, Trump enters right on the 20th. It's it's been halved. It was 2.86. Now it's 1.34. That's a Trump effect immediately. That's him saying, and you know what? Him being very wishy-washy with tariffs. You say it's terrible for the market. Well, it's good for metrics. It's good for the bedrock and the foundation of an economy that has to thrive with low inflation because it causes the interest rates to be cut. And so it's just one metric, but it is very important when it comes to the early signs within how Trump is going to be doing this. You can see this is what they're pledging. Speaker Johnson says he has the votes to move forward with the Trump-backed spending bill, major cuts, at least $1.5 trillion in savings for the American people. You know what? I think he was referencing $1.5 trillion over the course of 10 years or something. So we'll have to see in terms of that. Are Trump's tariffs good or bad for America? This is +7 saying they're good. This is crazy when you think about it, because we're dealing with the stock market issues. We're dealing with the health of the economy being in question because, of course, every normie person is going to say, well, if the stock market is down, if the sentiment is down, that means the economy is doing bad. And guys, remember, when they pose the question on inflation, it's always like, has Trump done a good job with inflation? It's like -30. How is that even? It's impossible. I cannot understand that. It's like a niche thing, right? Like when you're talking about a president's approval rating and then they ask you questions on certain topics, like how is Trump on immigration? How is Trump on foreign policy? How is Trump on inflation? He should be +45. Inflation has been halved under Trump, the trueflation, which is a real metric, and then even the CPI. The CPI has gone down, and just the inflation metric that the Fed uses has gone down as well by 0.1%. That's what they were referencing in those earlier tweets. We've also got this the SHIPS Act, which is very important when it comes to the production of ships within the United States. You could see, looks like this inlet within California is being offered up as a massive shipbuilding area complex. You see the U.S. accounts for 0.1% of global shipbuilding, and so it's a major problem, and we need to up it. And so that's why Trump passed the SHIPS Act, which should have bipartisan support. That's just another thing we can mention when it comes to, as long as this gets enacted, when it comes to bringing manufacturing, bringing production to the United States, not having reliance on South Korea, not having reliance on China. You can see China producing 54% of the total ships. The United States outsourcing basically everything when it comes to the making of their ships to Japan, South Korea. This is big stuff. And this is the nuance that we need in this country. And this is the investment in the United States that we need. And we're seeing under Trump. And the bedrock and the foundation is being laid through the lower inflation as a product of the shiftiness Trump has shown when it comes to. See, now you're getting all these Democrats saying, well, why is Trump being so secret? Why is he just doing all these random things when it comes to the stock market and when it comes to the tariffs? Well, it's helping because it brings the inflation down, because there's turmoil within the stock market. It's a short-term loss for a long-term gain because you need the inflation lower at step one. We're not going to play this political game with Powell where it's like a cat fight for 2.5 years trying to get the rates lower. They're forced down. They have to go down. Inflation is down. Bring the rates down. That's why Trump's been saying. And so we know this. And it's like, well, eventually the tariffs are going to cause inflation. Well, really? Well, let's look at the negotiations that Trump has. There's a 90-day period where these countries are negotiating with Trump on renegotiated, better trade deals. So if those get renegotiated, then evidently there's not going to be higher prices when we trade with those countries. There's just going to be better trade deals for us and our American companies trading into foreign markets. And so that's really important to understand. We don't know the exact inflation that these tariffs are going to cause, if they're going to cause any at all, because we don't know the tariffs that Trump will be keeping on. There's going to be tariffs remaining on China. Yes, there were tariffs on China in 2017, 2018. It did not cause crazy inflation. We had 2% inflation in 2019. That was the highest it was. And we had low interest rates, low inflation, and then we had COVID. So... but this is just another example with this SHIPS Act, the amount of ship production in the United States. I remember people talking about this before the election and really during Trump's president-elect period. It's so important to up these numbers in terms of the amount of ships that we produce here in the United States and we build. And that's part of the SHIPS Act. And there's some other things that Trump did yesterday with water pressure. The Obama administration limiting water pressure. He signed an executive order to change that. They wanted to save water or something, and so Trump decided to nix it. Kind of ridiculous, the idea you would limit the nozzle on shower heads, and it just doesn't make any sense. But either way, guys, that's just the situation. The big stuff is inflation is down. We thought it was going to be down. This is a byproduct to what Trump is doing. That's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.